as Ron Paul said like a month ago, he said Trump's doing great with his policies on the economy, in my view, but too little too late. Now, somebody who was the chief advisor to Ron Paul on his presidential campaign when it came to finance is Peter Schiff, billions under management at Europac.com. And, of course, no stranger to this show or cable TV or broadcast TV, you name it. And so I want to get his nuanced take on this because, look, I want to cheerlead the economy. And I see Trump bringing back a lot of jobs and exuberance in the stock market, but underlying globally, a lot of problems. And so we'll get Peter Schiff's take on that right to shotgun as Dr. Jerome Corsi. Peter Schiff, where do you think we are right now?
Well, you know, nice to see Alex. It's been a while, but, you know, I think candidate Trump had a lot better or more accurate view of the U.S. economy than President Trump, because candidate Trump was a lot more accurate in criticizing the phony numbers that the government used to try to paint a rosy picture of the economy. He was very critical of the way the government measured and reported unemployment, inflation, and of course, he called the stock market a big, fat, ugly bubble. He recognized the consequence of the cheap money policies of the Fed and that the stock market was not a good barometer of the overall economy. And on that, you know, that's what got him elected. I mean, that resonated with the public that had been spoon-fed nonsense by the administration about how great the economy was when they knew it was lousy. And now Trump is president, and he is spoon-feeding the same nonsense. We haven't had a huge turnaround in the economy since he's been elected. There has been an improvement in sentiment. There are people who believe that things are going to get better because they remain hopeful that things are going to happen, but nothing has actually happened.
Sure, but Peter, clearly, though, trying to get rid of the carbon taxes, trying to get coal back, trying to get rid of the regulations to make us more competitive, I think that's why the stock market's up. I agree. If we don't have a real economy, and then we have a big stock market, then it is just a bubble. But, I mean, the Democrats are actively trying to drive down the market to discredit him. So I get that you're right in overall as a purist, but I'm saying, aren't you glad at least we're having some success?
I don't think we're having success. I think, yes, we're having success in not having even more failure than we might have if Hillary Clinton were president.
Well, exactly. So hasn't Trump been given almost like a sinking ship?
Yes, he has been given a sinking ship. I wish he would level with the public that it is sinking, because he's now claiming that it's seaworthy. The problem is it's going down. And when he's at the helm, if he's telling us how great it is and then it goes down, he's going to get the blame for it.
I'm not pessimistic.
He needs to point out that the ship is still sinking and it needs serious repair. And so far, we're not doing it.
Dr. Corsi?
Well, I mean, I think I want to give Donald Trump credit for a couple of things. I mean, I think these regulations are very important to get rid of the EPA regulations, to get the economy so it can move, the whole emphasis on bringing jobs back to the United States. Clearly, the Federal Reserve is trying to stack the deck against President Trump raising interest rates. It's going to be critical that Trump gets discipline on Congress, gets a hold of the RNC money so that they can't have these guaranteed funds for the RNC to run for re-election, and pushes through a major tax reform. It's going to be critical.
Well, sure. I want to ask Peter about that, but undoubtedly, Trump wanted low interest rates. I was against him because it hurts real investors. But if the globalists gave themselves free interest forever, and the economy's in cardiac arrest, why not have a few years of low interest rates? So if Yellen is about to raise rates again and that hurts the overall recovery, then why hasn't he removed Yellen? Or does Peter think we should go ahead and raise rates and then that gets into the tax cuts? Go ahead, Peter.
Well, first of all, he can't remove her yet. I mean, her term is going to expire at some point. He doesn't have to renominate her. He can nominate somebody else. But it's interesting that during the entire term where Obama was president, the Fed really only raised rates once. I mean, they raised them a second time, but that's after the election. Since Trump was elected, they've already had 3 rate hikes, and they're planning on doing more. But the low interest rates were part of the problem. The Fed needs to raise interest rates, but when they do that, the economy is going to collapse. The whole bubble, the recovery was phony. We don't want to keep the phony recovery going. We want to let it implode so we can have a real recovery built on a solid foundation.
Sure, but Trump's argument is we only gave the bubble to the elites. Why not give some bubble to the people?
Well, the people don't want a bubble. They want genuine prosperity. They don't want to be deluded into thinking that things are getting better as they're actually getting worse. The only way to have a real recovery is going to have, we need massive cuts in government spending. And Donald Trump wants to increase government spending. He's talking about spending more money.
But see, his argument is it's a tax cut to slash regulations. I mean, isn't that one of the purest tax cuts there is?
Well, look, we need to get rid of regulations, and I wish we could. Look, we can't even get rid of Obamacare. I mean, they want to replace it with something that's almost as bad. And it might even be worse.
No, I agree with you. And that's the one big ding on Trump. That's the one big ding is this Obamacare thing has not been a real reform so far. So let me ask you this, Peter Schiff. What do you think would have happened if Hillary was in with her policy she was saying, and then A, and then B, what do you think Trump should do?
Well, look, I think if Hillary had won, a lot of the optimism surrounding the prospect of lower taxes and deregulation wouldn't be there. And my guess is that the Fed, that claims to be data dependent, would not have been raising interest rates in the face of this horrible data. So I do think that politics are playing a role here. And I think a reason that the Fed is ignoring the weak data is because they're not afraid of collapsing the bubble on Trump's watch.
Incredible.
But they were on Obama's or Hillary Clinton's. But I do believe that the Fed is going to go back to their old tricks. I mean, once this economy is obviously in recession, once the numbers clearly reveal that we are back in recession.
Yeah, they want to have the cake, eat it too. They want to hurt Trump and then bring back, you're 100% dead on. So tell us what else you think they're going to do, Peter Schiff.
Well, I said once we go back into recession and they can maybe blame it on Trump, you know, especially since Trump has made the mistake of pinning his presidency on the stock market or this economy. When the economy tanks and the stock market tanks, and now the Fed could try to save it and say, look what Donald Trump did. He wrecked this great economy, and now we have to come bail him out. We have to do more QE. We have to cut interest rates, and that may lay a foundation for Democrats to run against Trump and how he wrecked the economy in the midterm elections, and then again in the president for 2020.
That's the plan. That's total veritas. I'm going to get Dr. Corsi's brief take on that, but pulling back, what are they going to do? Losing all these special elections. People hate them. They're the new regional party of the coastlines. That's their answer. You can see it in the Federal Reserve's political actions. Tank the economy, blame it on Trump, and then in 2018, have the Democrats take back the House or the Senate. Peter?
Yeah, remember, though, they're not tanking a real economy. They're pricking their own bubble, and then they're going to try to refill it with air, but it's not going to work. See, that's what I think is going to backfire on them. When they attempt to reflate this bubble, it's not going to work. That's what's going to bring on the dollar crisis. The dollar's going to tank. Inflation is going to run out of control.
I agree.
And this is all going to happen. It should have happened years ago, but it didn't. We were able to delay the day of reckoning, and Barack Obama got out of Dodge, and his whole house of cards is going to come down around Donald Trump. That's why, again, I wish that he was more, leveled with the public about the gravity of these problems.
Sure, but that would kill. But imagine being him. He knows they're going to blame him, and all he's trying to do is prop it up. And while he gets industry back, so that there is something there when it all implodes, that's more of a soft landing. Or are you saying if the bubble's even bigger?
There is no soft landing. It's a crash landing. I mean, what we have to do is make sure we can even walk away from the crash. But he needs to level with the American public on the degree that we need to sacrifice. He can't keep saying that we're going to increase defense spending. We're too broke for that. He can't keep promising more money for infrastructure. We don't have it. We need to make cuts to entitlements. He can't say Social Security and Medicare are off the table. They have to be on the table.
Yeah, that was bad a few weeks ago.
We want to make
he's like, I have a big heart, so this Obamacare is going to have a bunch of free stuff in it. We don't have the money.
Well, I mean, again, Peter's right also that the entire bubble was created by Obama with zero interest rates and this quantitative easing, which people don't realize is the Fed's balance sheet ballooned with the Fed buying Treasury debt. We bought our own debt in order to keep the Obama doubling the national debt to $20 trillion. It was a huge ride on borrowed money.
Let me ask Peter this then. What's your timetable, hypothetically, and what do you see happening?
Well, look, now the Fed is promising quantitative tightening, right? So while the Fed was monetizing the Obama deficits, they don't want to monetize the Trump deficits. They want to make the Trump deficits even bigger by forcing the Trump administration not only to have to finance the national debt, the budget deficits, but to borrow enough money to repay all the money the Fed borrowed when Obama was president.
So clearly the elites are against Trump. Clearly the elites are against Trump. What do you think you should do?
Well, look, he needs to call him out on it. And again, and he needs to level with the public about the severity of this bubble. He can't be claiming credit for the stock market going up. He can't be touting these government phony unemployment numbers as if he's a successful president because the unemployment rate is down. The unemployment rate was falling the whole time Obama was president. It is meaningless. He needs to go back to what got him elected and stop being a politician and actually get to the root cause of the problem and use the bully pulpit to get the public ready for what really needs to be done to clean up this mess. Let's start draining the swamp.
You're right. We don't want him to become the swamp. So how would you grade Trump right now, Peter Schiff?
Well, I'm not giving him a good grade because, he's not doing what needs to be done. I mean, I'm not going to, look, he's obviously got all kinds of criticism coming at him from all angles. The media is all over him. I mean, obviously, if they were treating President Obama like this, I mean, they couldn't. It would all be racism.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I mean, so he's not getting a fair shot. But he inherited a disaster. He's not doing what I want him to do to try to help, make America great
Well, let's
again.
talk about it when we come back, how we make America great again. All I know is TPP killed, getting us out of the climate thing. I mean, he's done a lot of good stuff, securing the border. Stay there, Peter Schiff. We'll come back at your take on that. But you're right about some of the other economic stuff. All right. Colonel Anthony Schaefer, with always amazing inside intel, is joining us to break down the Democratic plan to basically bring in martial law. Sean Hannity's been covering it. The Democrats have been so brazen. They've talked about it in major policy papers. They've got former deputy defense secretaries making the rounds in the news, trying to sell the idea. It's just insane. Because they all know a big collapse is coming, and I guess they want to blame Trump and start some civil unrest. Soros is out there pushing it. The head of Europac.com, Peter Schiff, is our guest. Ron Paul said, if I get elected president, I'm not a dictator. We got to wean people off of big government. It's going to take a while. I'm not an apologist for Trump, and I'm not disagreeing with Schiff. I think he's right. But I'm a realist. And you see the elite against Trump. You see the powers that be trying to block him. What does he do? Come in and just let the economy totally implode? I mean, I understand at some point the bubble has to go down. But, I mean, Peter Schiff, quantify what you're saying for us.
Well, what I'm saying is that the air is going to come out of this bubble, just like it did on George Bush. Remember, the Fed inflated that phony recovery when it blew up the housing bubble. And that bubble, though, didn't survive the second term of Bush. It blew up while Bush was still president. And that's what helped Barack Obama become president, because people didn't want to vote for McCain.
Did they purposely deflate it to get Obama elected?
No, I don't think that they are that smart that they can time it and orchestrate it the way, they just got lucky that it happened, before.
Sure, because they're trying to stop Trump's stock market right now, and it's not working.
Well, they're raising interest rates. They're announcing quantitative easing. Yeah, you're right. I think they're doing things that you would think would make the stock market go down. I'm really not sure what's keeping it up, to the extent that maybe the market doesn't believe the Fed, that they think that they're bluffing, that they're not going to carry out with this quantitative tightening.
I think people want to make America great again. I think they're betting on America and just saying, you know what? This is my only vote is money, and I'm doubling down.
Yeah, but the market is already extremely expensive. It's not like you have a cheap market and you can make a good bet on
Amazon
America.
like 180-something to its earnings?
Yeah, but I mean, the overall market, forget about just Amazon. Just look at the overall S&P 500. We haven't had valuations this high since the bubble in 1999, 2000, and look how that ended. But the point is that the Fed did this. The market is a creation of the Fed. It's all about cheap money and liquidity. And if they withdraw that, then the market's going to come down. It's only a question of time. And it's going to come down hard. And who's going to get blamed for it? And since Trump has already said, look, the market is going up, that means I'm doing a good job. This is a barometer for my
He's already set himself up. That's a good point,
Yes, that means he owns it.
Yeah, it is
when
a
the
good
market
point.
comes down, now it's because you're a failed president. That look, the market's going down.
He has painted himself into a corner. He has painted himself.
To be judged by. And of course, he's taking credit for the low unemployment rate. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be accurately talking about the fact that Americans have lousy
Well, he should be saying, your exuberance, you made the market go up, and you believe that I've already done all this to get jobs back, but globally they're trying to beat me, they're raising rates to hurt you, so if it goes down, they get the blame.
Yeah, they will get the blame, but ultimately, rates have to go up anyway if we're ever going to have a real economy. The stock market has to come down. That's part of the recovery. So instead of saying, hey, the stock market going up shows I'm a good president, the stock market coming down means that he's doing things that will actually help the economy. We need asset prices to fall because we have to let interest rates rise. We have to default on debt.
But it's like putting your shoulder back into socket. We know we need to do it, but it's not going to feel good.
And Peter, I think, I agree with you, and I have agreed with you for years. I mean, I was opposed to the quantitative easing and all the $20 trillion in debt and all the increases in federal spending. I just think that, look, Trump is dealing with the food stamps. He's getting people off the food stamps. He's reducing the number of illegal immigrants in the country. He's going to have to deal with these programs, not overnight, because you can't just cut them off.
Yeah, let's admit that. He's already done a lot of good stuff when it comes to sovereignty, militarily. I mean, I think Trump, I mean, let's give him credit on that. I mean, I'm not being the cheerleader.
No, he is. No, there are some good things that he has done on the margins, but you're talking about, we have a terminally ill patient here. And if you clear up some of his acne that he might have, I mean, sure, okay. So now he's going to be a nicer looking corpse. But we have more important ailments, right, that we have to
Sure,
deal
America
with.
has bone cancer, and then we're trying to fix some eczema. Then in closing, again, the head of Euro-Pacific Capital, Peter Schiff, what's your prognosis? How long either way? I mean, how long can they push this bubble?
Well, look, they've already gone on a lot longer than I would have thought if we were having this conversation 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So we're living on borrowed money, literally. I don't know. I think we're getting closer and closer. And now that Trump is the fall guy, it seems like it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons that it's going to happen soon over the next couple of years. So again, people need to prepare, get your gold. I mean, gold is still below 1,300, 1,260. Help, I'm investing money for people outside the United States. The dollar is near a 6-month low, but it's still near a 14-year high. We surrendered all of the Trump gains in the dollar, but it still has a long way to fall. That means Americans can still invest their dollars overseas. They go into Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland, Hong Kong, other markets.
All right.
Get into
Peter Schiff, Euro-Pacific Capital, thank you. We'll be back with Colonel Schaefer. Thank you, Dr. Corsi. This is big news coming up. That was powerful info, though. They are trying to sabotage the Trump recovery, whether you agree with his policies or not. That's the big takeaway.